OpenAI has just given ChatGPT a major upgrade. It can now take actions on your behalf using its own virtual computer to get real-world tasks done from start to finish. They are calling this new capability ChatGPT Agent. And OpenAI writes in a blog post about this, quote, ChatGPT can now do work for you using its own computer, handling complex tasks from start to finish. So they give some examples. You could ask ChatGPT to do things like look at my calendar and brief me on upcoming client meetings, plan and buy ingredients, for instance, to make Japanese breakfast for 4, or analyze 3 competitors and create a slide deck. So then ChatGPT will intelligently navigate websites, filter results, prompt you to log in securely when needed, run code, conduct analysis, and even deliver editable slideshows and spreadsheets that summarize its findings. Now, what's cool is it does this all through a unified agentic system, which brings together 3 strengths of earlier breakthroughs on OpenAI's part. So first is operators' ability to interact with websites. Second is deep research's skill in synthesizing information. And third is ChatGPT's intelligence and conversational fluency. Now, for now, ChatGPT Agent is available to Pro, Plus, and Team users, and there's more access rolling out soon to enterprise and education users. So, Paul, I've been playing around with this just a little bit so far. I do want to highlight a comment on this that I found interesting. This is from Ethan Malik. He said, quote, I had early access and ChatGPT Agent is, I think, a big step forward for getting AIs to do real work. Even at this stage, it does a good job autonomously doing research and assembling Excel files with formulas, PowerPoint, etc. It gives a sense of how agents are coming together. It feels much more like working with an actual human intern capable of a wider range of analytical and computer tasks. So what do you think, Paul? Are we now finally at the tipping point where agents are starting to work?
I don't know. I think that it is a progression on the spectrum of autonomy. So as a quick reminder, so this is actually one of the ones I was referring to up front. Like I was working on the AI agents course and I was actually going through final edits of the deck before I recorded it on Saturday. And this dropped like last Wednesday or something like that. So I was like, okay, go ahead. And luckily I had a whole section on computer use that explained all of this, going back to like the World of Bits paper from 2017. So quick recap, AI agents are systems that can take actions with varying degrees of autonomy to achieve a goal. So chatbots just output text, image, video generation is possible, prompt something, you get something out of it. AI agents can go through a series of actions. Sometimes they plan those actions themselves. Sometimes they do the majority of those actions with very limited human involvement. But for the most part, humans are still extremely in the loop. But this idea of what's called computer use agents goes back to like 2016, 17. OpenAI was working on this very thing, and they published a paper called World of Bits. And at the time, they basically said, we're just not there yet. Like we can't physically do what we want these things to do, give them access to keyboard and mouse and fill out forms and take actions on websites like humans do. Well, language models then, shortly thereafter were introduced and that actually became an unlock to build these computer use agents. So we had our first computer use, publicly available computer use agent from Anthropic of all places in fall 2024. Google released something, OpenAI has released something. I think Perplexity has something. Like everyone's now going in this direction. So this idea of the agent being able to complete actions in a digital environment, like on your computer, on your phone, this is where they're all going. So this is early. So I'll just, to keep this to rapid fire, I'll read Sam Altman's tweets because I thought they were very telling about kind of where we are. So he said, today we launched a new product called ChatGPT Agent. Agent represents a new level of capability for AI systems and can accomplish some remarkable complex tasks for you using its own computer. As you mentioned, Mike, it combines deep research and operator. Operator was actually just introduced in January 2025 as a research preview. So this is kind of building on that. But it's more powerful than may sound. It can think for a long time, use some tools, think some more, take some actions, think some more, etc. So to kind of unpack this for a second, the reasoning model, O1, that OpenAI introduced in September 2024 is what now unlocks the ability to do this. So when he's saying think some, then think some more, then think some more, that's the reasoning component built into this. They're now on O3 Pro. We'll talk a little bit about GPT-5 in a minute, but I think that that's basically what's happening. So then back to Sam. He says, for example, we showed a demo in our launch of preparing for a friend's wedding where you're buying an outfit, booking travel, choosing a gift, etc. We also showed an example of analyzing data and creating a presentation. Although utility is significant, so are the potential risks. We have built a lot of safeguards and warnings into it and broader mitigations that we've ever developed before, from robust training to system safeguards to user controls. But we can't anticipate everything. In the spirit of iterative deployment, we are going to warn users heavily and give users freedom to take actions carefully if they want. I thought this was a really interesting part of his tweet. I would explain this to my own family as cutting edge and experimental, a chance to try the future, but not something I'd use for high stakes uses or with a lot of personal information until we have a chance to study and improve it in the wild. In other words, they know it might take your stuff. Like if you allow this thing access to your computer and to see things on your computer that are personal and confidential, they're basically warning you, we don't know if this thing is going to take that data and use it in some nefarious ways, is kind of a veiled way of saying this. You think, we don't know exactly what the impacts are going to be, but bad actors may try to trick users, agents into giving private information they shouldn't and take actions they shouldn't in ways we can't predict. We recommend giving agents the minimum access required to complete a task to reduce privacy and security risks. For example, I can give agent access to my calendar to find a time that works for group dinner, but I don't need to give it any access if I'm just asking it to buy me some clothes. There's more risk in tasks like look at my emails that came in overnight and do whatever you need to do to address them. Don't ask any follow-up questions. So he's basically saying, don't do that. Like, don't give it this free access to do it, because it will, but you may not like what it does. He said this could lead to untrusted content from a malicious email, tricking the model into leaking your data. We think it's important to begin learning from contact with reality, and that people adopt these tools carefully and slowly as we better quantify and mitigate the potential risks involved. As with other new levels of capability, society, the technology, and risk mitigation strategy will need to co-evolve. And then he did do a follow-up tweet where he said, watching ChatGPT agent use a computer to do complex tasks has been a real feel the AGI moment for me. Something about seeing the computer think, plan, and execute hits different. So overall, it is still very early, especially when it comes to computer use, but these AI labs, the leading labs, are all very aggressively pursuing this path of development and deployment. And so we have to be preparing for it. And you and your organization better be updating your AI usage policies really fast if you have not yet, because there's a chance your employees may be able to turn on this kind of access, or they'll use their personal access and it will see things that your company has if they're using, company servers, company emails, things like that on their computers. So my general take is you should not allow your employees to turn this on their computers until you better understand the risks involved with it.
Yeah, no kidding. That last point's so important, I feel like.